today's video I am going to be doing my revert story. This has been really highly requested from quite a lot of sisters, just wondering how I came to Islam, how I became a Muslim and my background, I suppose. I probably should have done this before I did my hijab story, but I wasn't actually going to do this because it's a little bit personal. But it is nice to hear other people's stories, and it's quite inspiring, especially if you can relate to that person or you know you're in a similar situation. I'm just going to start off with talking about a little bit about my childhood. So my mum and dad had me quite young, and I wasn't really brought up in a really religious environment. You know, we didn't really pray or go to church. I think my grandparents were a little bit more religious. My nan would speak about God, but apart from that, nothing was really said about God or anything that I can remember when I was younger. My parents split up when I was about 3 years old, and then my mum remarried, and she had my brother with my stepdad. So I lived with my mum, my stepdad and my little brother up until I was 11, and when I was 11 my mum passed away. She was really young and it was really sudden, and it was such a big shock for the family, and that from that moment on was when my life just turned upside down. Me and my brother were separated, and I had to go live with my grandparents and my dad, and he stayed with his dad. And it was at this point that I actually really started to contemplate God, why are we here? And I was only young, so I didn't think too much about it, but it made me more aware. You know, I had to move to a completely different area, I had to make new friends, and the secondary school, because I was 11, it was year 6, I was just going into secondary school. So the secondary school that I went to, there was a lot of Muslim girls. Now, I didn't know nothing about Islam before this point. So the school that I went to, there was a lot of Muslim girls, and this is when I really started to become familiar with the religion. But still at this point I had no idea that eventually I would revert back to Islam. And then a couple of years later, you know, I was just a normal teenager. I was going out, I was partying and spending a lot of time with my friends, but I always felt like something was missing. I started to pray to God more, and I remember one Christmas, I must have been about 14, 15 maybe, instead of sitting at home and, you know, opening all the Christmas presents, I said to my nan, I'm going to go to church. So on the Christmas morning I went to church, and I was just looking for something to fill this gap that I had in my heart, like something was just missing. So I just continued to pray to God, and I would ask, you know, please guide me and help me to worship you in the right way. Please help me to become closer to you. And I started talking to, you know, some girls at school about religion, and I met a friend who was actually also a revert, and they taught me a lot about Islam. In these earlier stages I had very much, you know, the stereotypical view, oh well, why would I cover my hair, that's not right, and you know, I had a very stereotypical view. But you know, as I looked into it more, I remember my friend gave me a Quran, and I started to read the Quran, and I just carried on, you know, just praying, you know, for guidance. Probably after a couple of months or so, I went with my friend to do my shahada. And I remember the day that I went to do my shahada, you know, I wasn't wearing a hijab, I was just dressed in the usual clothes, and I went to the mosque, and I wasn't made to feel like, even though I wasn't wearing a hijab or anything, I wasn't made to feel out of place, if you know what I mean. I was very welcomed, like, and everyone was so nice to me, and I said my shahada, alhamdulillah. And from that point on, you know, there's been ups and downs, you know, and there was times when my iman was really low and, you know, I would just fall off a bit. But alhamdulillah, you know, I just kept reading and trying my best, and a year and a half after that I started wearing the hijab. So that is generally my revert story. You know, I don't want to go into too much detail, just give you the basics really. But the day when my mum passed away was the day that I really started to think about the world, and, you know, that's why I am who I am today. You know, I'm still trying to improve. Allah knows best, and I'm very thankful, you know, to God for my life now. And that is about it. That is my revert story in a nutshell. I know that a lot of you were wondering how I came to Islam, and I just want to say thank you to the girls who went to the school with me. If you're watching, you know who you are, who were massively supportive, and any questions that I had, they just answered my questions, you know, and they were just so supportive and so nice. So thank you to those as well for helping me. And when it comes to telling my family, I think I sort of eased my family into it, like I would just start talking about Islam, and I think they sort of then clocked on that I was actually a Muslim. If you want to hear more about how I come to wear the hijab and everything, I'll leave a link for my hijab story in the video, where I also go into detail about what my family thought and stuff. So that is about it.
Where to begin? I'm officially a Muslim now, alhamdulillah. I took my shahada a month and about 2 weeks ago, September 27th, 2014. It's the day I became a Muslim. So yes, that's why I'm here, making another video, just to touch base and